Yeah, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to go through this real quick because we don't have time for a presentation because I think people are moving pretty fast here. But what I would like to do is just talk a little bit about IBED, the International Renewable Energy Technology Institute. By the way, I have done flyers here that I want all of you to have. But as director of this organization, I just wanted to make sure that we understand that really it is a pathway for entrepreneurship, or in other words, innovation. And it's really a small business. It's starting up as a small business. So I'm just going to okay, that's not that way. Go this way. Okay, very quickly, the history of IBED started in Sweden, of course, and we're right now everything is in place, except we are still running behind on the certification. We do not have full certification, primarily because we've been working with EPA. They've been a little bit slow in responding, and we're also going after ISO 17025 certification as well. I'm not going to go into this long story here, but I'll very briefly tell you why it's here. This is, as both of you will probably call it, an opossum. Some of you probably know it very well. When I was growing up in Kansas, which is about 400 miles south of Minnesota, the opossum was something that we trapped back in the 40s, and we even skinned them and sold the hides for 25 cents, which doesn't sound very much like right now, but 25 cents back then was really quite a bit. And I never thought much about that until I began to see them in Minnesota. And it goes back to what Pierre was talking about this morning. We got global warming. These critters never were native to Minnesota, but now they're all over the place. You can even find them smashed on the highway now. To go a little bit further here, the mission here of IBED is really to advance renewable energy in the United States, particularly in Minnesota, and really is to provide a safe landing place for businesses to come and put, or an organization. We are currently working in 3 different areas, solid combustible biomass, and we have that lab up and running. We built the certification on that. We have a biogas lab and liquid fuels, and we have a Department of Agriculture certification there. And then we have the solar energy panels coming in. It is operating like a small business, and like small businesses, we are struggling. And sometimes small businesses go broke, I guess. Areas of application, we want to be a third-party test center. We want to be, we're working with substrate analysis and anaerobic digestion, as well as in the solid combustible biomass, testing out boilers and stoves. We have done a comparative project this last year on 2, American stove and a Tweak stove, and that turned out to be very interesting. And of course, we want to be involved in research and development. Now you have to understand that we're involved in research and development. What we do there, we cannot test later, because that would be a conflict of interest and principle. And then also we want to become involved in education and training. And what's interesting here is that I've written a couple grants for workforce development, and right now in Minnesota, we got turned down because there are no jobs in that area. So that's something that we still have to continue to work on. We want to promote clean tech ideas. We are working with, as a point of access for the community. And to give you some idea of that, we find that in Mankato, IBED has become an identifier for a point of access to the university. We're also part of a Southern Minnesota competitive project, and of that Southern Minnesota, they identified bioscience and renewable energy as the top 2 businesses for the future. And of course, because we have no state budget lines, we have to charge for our services. What drives the market economy? A lot of people say that government is involved. A lot of people say that the private sector does it all by themselves. But quite frankly, in my opinion, it's demand. If there's no demand, there's no business. And if government is not helping in the demand area, then it becomes very weak. What are the barriers? Obviously, a bad economy is something that's really going to reduce entrepreneurial spirit and renewable energy. Clean tech barriers. I think probably the top thing that I would have to mention is politics right now. And then, of course, behind that would be coal, and then behind that would be natural gas. Those are my ideas of what is the barriers, what are the barriers. And then, of course, below that are the common barriers, the fear of risk, fear of failure, uncertainty, and availability of funding. If we take a look at the services to innovators, we find out that there are ways in which barriers can be reduced, but most often the answers are always going to be the simplest, solutions are always going to be the best. And I offer this book by Matthew Crawford, who wrote the book Shop Class and Soul Craft. You probably have all listened to Flick and Tackett brothers, who are Harvard graduates that are car mechanics. Matthew Crawford is a physics PhD, and he worked in a think tank for a while until he realized that he had to think what his boss was trying to tell him to think, so he quit. And then he started up a motorcycle shop, and he decided that out of all of this, you cannot be an entrepreneur if you just work out of the book. You have to feel it, you have to smell it, and you have to taste it in order for you to become an entrepreneur. And he goes on to say that the classical new automobile right now is an example. Because if you open up the hood of a new automobile, you have so much stuff under there, he calls it a second hood, and all the working parts are hidden from you. And therein lies the problem, because if you are hiding the working parts, new ideas don't come about. And what he makes a big case for the fact that entrepreneurship has to come from visual things that you see and get some sense of how they work. There's a lot of opportunities. I won't go through all this because you probably know them, but there's so many different things to select from. It's difficult to identify exactly which areas are important, but what you have to do is choose one and really get married to it and continue with it until you drive it towards success. The Kauffman Foundation in Kansas City has listed several things that are important for entrepreneurship in their entrepreneurial center. And one of the first things that they emphasize is you have to recruit international expertise. So it's really, the story is that you cannot do it alone anymore. You have to recruit. And then it goes on to talk about other things like connecting entrepreneurs, research, and all that. I won't go into the detail of that, but I just want to point out the fact that the international connections are extremely important. How easy is it? It's very interesting because there is a family in Minnesota who were electricians. Now, most electricians are really starving, well, I shouldn't say starving, but there's a lot of construction people, including electricians, that are finding it difficult to find work. These people, right about the time that the recession was setting in, decided to invest in solar power. And they have been working night and day trying to keep up with their customers. They went into a new business. The second one is a person that I met who wants to get a patent on a snow bicycle. It's a bicycle you can ride in the snow. And he is such a passionate about that I think he is going to make it. But he lives it, he dreams it, and he continues to look for money. And of course, the third one is the flexibility of a guy by the name of Tom Rom. Greg might know him, but he comes into my office quite regularly with an idea. 2 years ago, at the Inventors Conference in Medford Falls, he got first place for an idea that he had on renewable energy. And I believe that is it. Yeah, it is. Okay, now I would like to switch over to a little bit about the next 2012. I guess that's what I should do, right? I'm looking at where I'm. But anyway, I wanted to make a pitch, and I had a piece to show you. However, Greg probably saved my life by showing that it won't work because it's on the internet. But it's called Minnesotian, and it talks about all the great things that are going on in Minnesota. And really, Minnesota is a very great state. It's progressive. I'm not a native of Minnesota, but when I moved there in 1970, I felt that I had fallen into heaven because I came out of Kansas, where all the roads were gravel and there was no culture, no public radio, landed in Minnesota, and all those things were there. But anyway, just a couple of examples. We were the first state to outlaw smoking in restaurants. And then, of course, we had thank you. We're the first state to legislate a energy conservation policy of 25% renewable by 2025. Our governor, after he was out of office, tried to walk away from that a little bit, but he was supportive of it at one time. Education, a top priority in Minnesota. We have many campuses. As a matter of fact, in the Mankato area alone, we have Minnesota State Mankato, we have South Central College, we have Bethany Lutheran College, and then if you go 10 miles north, you get into Gustavus Adolphus. Go 30 miles away, and you get into St. Olaf. 20 miles away, you get into St. Olaf and Carleton. So we have a lot of educational pieces there. Our business is primarily agriculture in that area, and I dream of the day where we can begin to move agriculture into the renewable energy area. I think that right now we're fighting that battle of food and fuel. I think that we can't have food, and we need to really concentrate on how to get the waste energy into the fuel cycle. We have a lot of ethanol plants around southern Minnesota. We have the one star up there was on Greg's map. That was a isobutanol plant that's starting up, which has promise. And of course, we have a lot of wind energy in the area. Mayo Clinic is not so far away. And of course, if you go in town, we have a Mayo Hospital. So your health will be well taken care of. But we have a lot of things that we want to show you. We have a new center of renewable energy on campus, which on one side we have the automotive energy, automotive technology, and on the west side we have the IBED building, our lab, with very small, but it's there. And for all those reasons, we want you to come back to Minnesota. Now, I have to tell you that in 2008, we really got together, we really marketed, and I think we had 350 people there. We want to bring that back. Now this year, what I'm planning on doing, I've already had some meetings with some companies, but we want to develop a platform, a consortium Now, if you think about Minnesota, there's a lot of Native Americans there. And every year, during the same time that we have the IBED conference, the Native Americans have their meeting, which is called powwow, and they come together and they celebrate their heritage, which is very environmental, in fact, and we want to connect the Indian powwow, the Native American powwow, to the IBED, to a Old Town festive music in the evenings. Doesn't that make you want to come? Not good. But anyway, and of course, I've already been to a couple companies asking for some platinum sponsorships, and whether they come, whether it happens or not, I don't know. But I really do want you to come. It will be great. We're going to have a great program. We want all of you to be a part of participate in the program, and also it will be it'll just be a lot of fun, and it'll be a lot of learning. And the reason we had it in 2008 is because we were awarded IBED in 2008 in the spring. So we really only had February, March, April, and May, and June to plan. We have a little bit more time this year, so I think that we'll even do better than we did the last time. So, okay.